The Supreme Court has struck down certain aspects of the voting rights law that was established back in 1965. And to try to get a better perspective on what this means, let's go back to Washington correspondent Peter Cook. Peter, it's hard to wrap our minds around exactly what this means. Maybe you can help shed some light for the benefit of the viewers.
Well, this is a remnant from the civil rights fight of the 1960s and the 1965 Civil Rights Act, as you just talked about, Adam. This is a significant decision by the U.S. Supreme Court, and basically it was a 5-4 ruling or opinion with Chief Justice John Roberts delivering the majority opinion here. And what's significant is this was a law that required certain states, southern states in particular, to get pre-clearance from the federal government when they wanted to change their election laws, their election rules. The reason for that was there was concerns back in the 60s, of course, that blacks were not being allowed to go to the polls in a fair and equitable fashion. And so the federal government basically was overseeing these southern states, guaranteeing that they allowed for full access to the polls. The argument being made by an Alabama county, and I'm summarizing it here, was effectively, we've moved on from that. We don't need special pre-clearance. We shouldn't have to get special pre-clearance from the federal government when we change our election rules today, because those are problems of the past. Those problems are gone. And what this court has said, the Supreme Court has said, is effectively it has backed that Alabama county and made it clear that these southern states no longer have to get pre-clearance from the federal government. There were real concerns that even though things have moved on, things have improved in the South, certainly with regard to access to the polls, that there still remains vestiges of these challenges back in the civil rights era, and that this would be a step backward for voting rights for African Americans, for others in the South. And that is what this decision is. Again, just reading through the headlines here, want to dig into it more deeply as to exactly the rationale behind these changes, but that's the basic idea here, is the Supreme Court is agreeing with Alabama County here that times have changed, and it is no longer required for these southern communities that were mired in the civil rights fight back in the 1960s to have to get pre-clearance from the federal government when they change their election rules. They can do it on their own. They don't have to check with Uncle Sam back in Washington.